Hey everybody, this is Ronald Long, and we are in week 6 of our Unplugged series talking about spiritual disciplines connecting with God in an over-connected world. Have you ever taken a road trip, like a really long one? My wife and I just drove back from Alabama last weekend, and when you're driving on a road trip, there's stuff that you want to like bring with you, like so that you can entertain yourself and you can make those long hours on the road just hopefully go by a little faster. But there are other things that you have to decide to give up. It's crazy. I've been doing this for so long, and every time I go on like a family trip, I think I'm gonna bring some video games. It's just for fun. And I'll bring like my Nintendo 3DS, and I'll bring like our Nintendo Switch. And I go in knowing that like I'm not gonna have a lot of time. We're gonna be doing like family stuff. And then always what happens is I don't play any of the stuff that I bring. I always like think I'm gonna have a lot more time than I actually do, and the reality is I need to just kind of like give up the idea that when I go on these trips, I'm gonna have any time to like play some video games. Even like when we're in the car and we're driving down the road, most of the time I'm the one driving, and when I get over into the passenger seat and I'm looking down to play video games, no, I get car sick. So really, it's just something I ought to give up. What's something that you could give up? Not just on a road trip, but like at all. What's something that you do, something you spend your time doing that you could give up and legitimately be okay with it? And if you're thinking at first, ooh, I couldn't give this up, that'd be too hard. Maybe that's the thing that you need to fast from. So last time we talked about why we fast, right? Why we're commanded in Scripture to give up food in order to spend time with God. That's what fasting is. But what we can do is we can take the idea of fasting and actually expand it and say we can take away a thing, an activity, something we do that takes up time, and whatever that time is, use that time to spend with God. Now, people in the Bible fasted all the time. There are lots of instances when people would fast, and I want to read one of those to you right now from the book of Ezra. And if you're unfamiliar with the history of Ezra, just a real quick recap. Remember that Israel was once one nation. After King Solomon, it got split into two, and then after years and years and years, both nations got taken over and then exiled. And the books of Ezra and Nehemiah are about the people of God coming back to the land of Israel and Judah. It's really cool. And Ezra is the first one who comes back. Ezra is the one who comes back in order to like establish the city. It's a big deal. And what he does is he's praying with this foreign leader and asking the foreign leader permission to return to his homeland. And he gets the permission. It's a really neat story. If you need some cool stories to read while you're still kind of quasi-quarantined, Ezra, you should check it out. But what's interesting is while they are on the way back, there comes a moment when Ezra realizes, oh no, we forgot the priests. Or maybe they didn't forget the priests, but they just kind of like realized, like, we have lots of Israelites, but we don't have anybody from the tribe of Levi. That's a problem. So they actually stop, pause. They send for Levites. Some of them come, and before they continue on the rest of the journey, this is what happens in Ezra 8:21. Ezra saying, I proclaimed a fast by the Ahava River, so that we might humble ourselves before God and ask Him for a safe journey for us, our dependents, and all our possessions. So this is Ezra saying, I as a leader am going to say that everyone in this company should fast so that we can pray and ask God for safe travels. Why did they need to pray for safe travels? Well, actually, a little funny story. Ezra 8:22 says, I did this because I was ashamed to ask the king for infantry and cavalry to protect us from enemies during the journey. Since we had told him, the king, the hand of our God is gracious to us, to all who seek him, but his fierce anger is against all who abandon him. So we fasted and pleaded with our God about this. and he was receptive to our prayer. If you keep reading on in Ezra chapter 8, it actually says that they made it to Jerusalem without being attacked. And in those days, that was a big deal. It would have been a huge answer to prayer to arrive in Israel with all the things that they were bringing with them, like money and gold and supplies and just plain people. That would be huge for them to make it safely. And so they fasted, they prayed, and God answered their prayer. So how do you and I fast? All right, so we're not the leader of a nation and can't like declare a fast over the people. But what we can do is we can take time personally to fast. Now, the first thing that I would probably suggest you do is think about why you need to fast. No, not why do we fast, but why do you need to fast? Is there a certain thing that you need to pray about? Is there a certain thing that's on your mind that you're concerned over? And if there is, say that, okay, this is the reason I'm fasting. I'm going to fast and pray for my mom who's sick. I'm going to fast and pray for my dad who needs a job. Or I'm going to fast and pray for my friend who's just really sad and having a hard time. Okay, and so once you kind of decide like the reason you're going to fast and pray, the first thing you do is remove something, right? Remove something, an activity or a meal or something that you think you can't live without for a set amount of time. Now, you don't have to do this indefinitely. Be like, I will never eat lunch again. That's not what we're talking about. But instead we're saying, you know what, for maybe a day, I'll go without food. Or you might say, you know what, for 1 week, I will not play video games. You remove that thing for a set amount of time. And as you do that, you think about how you can replace it with God. Replace the time and the energy that you used on that something and spend that time with God. I'm getting phone calls all over the place. Like I got a little spam call on my phone, and now it's like on my computer. I don't even know how to stop this. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, there it goes. Okay, all right. So you take the time that you were going to spend with the thing and replace it with time with God, meaning reading the Bible, praying, or worshiping, singing songs, journaling, doing these other spiritual disciplines. You take that time and you replace it with God. Now, here's another thing. Fast privately. Remember the last time we talked about how Jesus condemned those people who made a big deal out of telling everybody, I'm fasting right now. Like they would, suck in their cheeks and make themselves look really hungry and like look sad. And so that people would ask them, oh, what's wrong? And go, well, I'm fasting right now. Right? And no. Don't do that. That's not what we're encouraged to do from Jesus. Jesus, in fact, tells us, wash your face, act normal, be normal, and fast privately. Make it something between you and God. Now, what you can do is if it's something that you're doing like with a friend, that's okay, right? Like it's okay to be accountable, to say, hey, I want to bring you into this. Fast with me. Let's do this together. But again, check your heart when you're doing this. Don't just fast so you can impress your friend. Do it so that you can spend that time with God. And then once like the fast is over, right? It's been the week, it's been the day, right? Whatever it is, evaluate. How did it go? Did you spend the time with God that you had intended to? And then maybe even look at that thing and be like, you know what? I decided I was going to fast from my phone, and well, I don't need to spend as much time on my phone as I thought I did. What I do need, though, is to spend more time with God. Evaluate your fast so that's not just something that happens and it passes by you, but like pay attention to what happened and how it went. When we go on a road trip, you have to evaluate, right? Even on this last time, like I really just brought one thing, like one video game thing that I was like, okay, I know I normally don't have time for this, but I'll try this time, and it still didn't happen. I know better by now, right? It's going to feel weird and clunky especially the first few times that you practice the spiritual discipline of fasting. It's not going to seem natural. In fact, your stomach's going to remind you that you need food. But the reality is, fasting shows us our need for God. We don't need the things that we often spend so much time doing and thinking about and fretting over, but what we do need is God, who's with us, who loves us, and wants us to talk to Him. And so I hope and I pray that you'll find something in your life that needs serious considered prayer, and you would spend some time fasting and considering it. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm looking forward to continuing on with this spiritual disciplines and seeing what more we can do to help us on our journey with God. You guys are amazing. We will see you next time.